This is part 3. Today we will talk about stability, your wants falling into the void, feeling neglected, wallowing, and feeling like a victim. Stability is non-existent after loss. Everything will feel uncertain and out of control. A stable life is actually impossible, as every day brings another unknown. Emotionally, you will be unstable, and it is not unusual to have meltdowns lasting for hours. Having these episodes makes it hard to socialise or get to work. I decided to have a break from work and only socialise when I could handle it. The new environment is completely changed. Your home is empty and you are feeling quite lost. Becoming single is also a new challenge. There may be added financial insecurity. On a social level, your family and friends are responding to the new situation. Some are present, while others are nowhere to be seen. New people often arrive and old ones disappear. During the years after loss, you are terribly vulnerable, and any hurt or rejection feels worse. It is not wrong to feel needy. After losing a loved one, you are not the same. Try to focus on the stable parts of your life, the same home, family, friends, pets, and work. Hold on to these as they form a foundation upon which to rebuild your new life. As time passes, the new life feels like it is part of your present and future. I made plans on a daily and weekly basis. I filled my life with stable relationships and activities. I had been raised rock, as he was mine, so being alone after 4 decades was difficult, but gradually I managed to manifest stability into my daily life. Somehow, by adding physical stability, helped me support my emotional, mental, and psychological stability. And on the bad days, I just buckled down and then just did the best I could. There will be different things you want. Wanting is not like needing. Wanting means you wish or desire something. The experience of loss creates lots of wants. You want the pain to end, you want the tears to end, you want your loved one back, you want the life before. But none of these wishes can be fulfilled during the grief process. The time passes and nothing much alters in your reality. Once often involved other people, you want others to understand what is happening to you. In truth, unless they have experienced a similar loss, they cannot understand. Stop wanting this level of understanding from others because it's unrealistic. I found that wanting was a useless practice. It was better to meet my own needs. There was no point being disappointed by my idealistic expectations. It simply added to my sense of unhappiness. Recognizing what you want and how to get it is part of your healing. By meeting your needs, you are strengthened, and by receiving help keeps you open and your energy flowing. Another widow or widower completely understands your plight. Therefore, joining a support group online or one in your vicinity is a wise decision. In my experience, there were a few wonderful individuals who instinctively read my unspoken wants and were willing and happy to help in any way. They supported me along the lonely path and were never far away. However, during the bereavement, I knew I had to step up and become more self-reliant. Living in the void is the price you pay for the loss of the loved one. There is a void afterwards, an emptiness that no one or nothing fills. I noticed that the void times were worse in the morning and evening. Somehow I seemed to distract myself more in the day. I dreaded the void. Every day I knew I would face it, and I never felt prepared. In the first few weeks, certain days were like an eternity. Going to bed early worked, but not always. In the middle of the night, the void was hard. There was no one to talk to and no one to hug. I ached during those eternal nights. In an attempt to fill the void, plan activities ahead and save your phone calls for these challenging days. A well-timed call, surfing the net, and media are lifesavers. On particular days when you're emotionally messy, the void is harder to deal with. Your emotions are strong after loss and the demons get to you more easily. There are times when you fill the void with endless tears, and this is normal. The void is unavoidable, and you learn to fill it with life. However, the loss of a young loved one is never truly filled, and with this understanding, it is easier to cope with. Don't be hard on yourself during the days or weeks when it's present. You are struggling with many issues, and remember, your resources are low. Sometimes you sail through the day and feel elated to be making progress, only to fall back again. In the end, there will always be an empty space in your life where your loved one stood. Accept that when you have loved another, it is okay, the space remains. However, life goes on, and you owe it to yourself and your loved one to live as fully as you can. The one common issue you may suffer is the feeling of emotional neglect, perceived or real. Grief locks you into prison sadness, and you cannot always navigate your way out. In these situations, you may feel emotionally neglected. It is obvious to you that Christmas, birthday, New Year, and anniversaries are a nightmare emotionally. However, unless you are fortunate to have a few good people around, you can be neglected during these pivotal times. Try not to take it personally. Empaths, widows, and widowers are aware while other people are busy and cannot see what is really happening to you. On the days you feel neglected, nurture yourself or ring a supportive friend. Instead of focusing on the empty hole left by the neglect, fill it with something self-soothing. Feeling neglected comes from the lack of care from others, but also from our expectations. During the grief, many people are unable to process their own emotions around it, let alone support someone else. It is natural to lean towards people, however, asking someone who is drowning to give help is unrealistic. Denial is a strong component with emotional neglect. Everyone works through loss in their way and their own time. It is not unusual for people to shelve the whole situation and face it years later. The further out from the loss, the easier it is to avoid. The widow or widower is living the reality every hour, whether they want to or not. There is nowhere to hide. However, sons and daughters are often removed from family homes and have already left the nest. This disconnection makes avoidance more likely. Although you feel emotionally neglected, try not to take it personally. Being angry when you are neglected is normal. Try to see the bigger picture and not punish them. Forgive them and move on. Wallowing is not always avoidable. Try to keep positive, but remember that sometimes you will wallow. Although wallowing has negative connotations, it is a natural outcome. Allowing your emotions to be felt and expressed is healthy. Loss is a particularly deep and life-changing event. The losses are not only the obvious ones. You lose countless daily events and your entire world is different. The past is lost, but so is your future as you saw it, and with that all your hopes and dreams. The person you wanted to be with today and tomorrow is not there, and this can be heartbreaking. There is some research which indicates wallowing gives us time out from having to cope. By crying and having prolonged meltdown, you let go of the stress created. I wallowed for hours and sometimes for days. The heavy sadness weighed me down, and it took time to release. Of course, I tried to let my feelings go, but the depth and the pain of the emotions were also hard to release. Wallowing is allowing expression of your deepest and darkest emotions. Wallowing is honestly how you feel. Never judge or blame yourself for wallowing. The only way through grief is feeling it as it comes up to the fore. There's also a victim and survivor response to grief. You may switch from one to the other. However, long term, you choose to become a victim or a survivor. Survivors view the past but live in the present. Survivors want to heal, whereas victims want to remain in pain. It is normal to fluctuate in the beginning from victim to survivor. On the grief forums, I noticed some people kept in the victim space for ages. They lived another life back there and could not be in their present world and be happy. The person who is left after the death suffers the most. Although the loved one may have died in pain and fear, when you are the surviving partner, it is a pain that is unbearable. Everybody knows that a long-term committed relationship is one where you're going to eventually pay the price. How you handle it says a lot about your view of life. Survivors tend to have a fighting spirit and need for personal growth. Victims get stuck and find problems to every solution. And I know we've all been victims. Don't stress about feeling victim-like. Loss is tough, and stumbling into the victim hole is usual. However, staying there is a choice. I allowed myself some pity me time and then got back to working on myself. It was empowering to move from victim to survivor. Of course, I was a bit bruised and battered, but I was not going to let this make me into a victim forever. Loss teaches you how difficult life can be. However, on a positive note, you become more compassionate toward yourself and others.